Life can throw us many curveballs, but when it comes to death, there have been a number of recorded cases that are just downright insane. In today's video, we will show you 20 unusual deaths that range from eating too many carrots to an elaborate YouTube stunt that went very, very wrong. Buckle in, you really won't want to miss a single moment of this video. We guarantee that our number one pick will make your toes curl. 20. Killed by a severed snake head. It's common knowledge that some snakes carry a poisonous venom that can quickly kill a person if they don't get medical assistance straight away. Well, a chef living in southern China thought that any danger of being poisoned was behind him after cutting the snake's head off. Unfortunately, the cobra had one more trick up its scaly sleeve and managed to sink its venom-filled fangs into the man via an automatic survival reflex. The poison took hold and killed the man before he had time to seek help. Do you think that the snake's reflex is incredibly clever? Give us a thumbs up if you think it is. 19. Man falls through window trying to prove their safety. Gary Hoy often liked to show off the strength of the safety glass that was installed in the skyscraper he worked at. In fact, whenever new employees started, he would do a demonstration where he would launch himself at the glass and laugh at the fear it evoked. Well, even though the glass was indeed shatterproof, what Gary didn't take into consideration was the fact that the pane had been slowly pushed out of its frame over the many times he had pulled the stunt off. One day, in front of many horrified onlookers inside and outside of the building, Gary ran at and dislodged the pane completely, causing him to fall 24 floors to his death. 18. Eating too many carrots. When we were young, we were taught that eating your carrots would help you see in the dark. Unfortunately for one man, it didn't help him see his untimely death coming. 48-year-old Basil Brown had been taking part in a 10-day carrot cleanse when he began to feel unwell. The reason for his discomfort, however, turned out to be liver failure brought on by the 10 gallons of carrot juice he had drunk. His postmortem showed that his body had absorbed 10,000 times the amount of vitamin A needed in the human body. If there is any type of food that you could eat too much of, what would it be? Ours is pizza. Let us know yours in the comment section below. 17. Deadly YouTube stunt. YouTubers will do anything for views. In the case of Pedro Ruiz, however, the need for people to press the subscribe button resulted in his girlfriend pressing the trigger of a gun aimed right at him. Ruiz and his pregnant girlfriend, Mona Lisa, had hatched a plan to fire a gold-plated handgun into a book Ruiz was holding to his chest. As you can imagine, the stunt didn't end well. 2 cameras recorded the moment the bullet killed the young content creator. Mona Lisa spent 180 days in jail and got 10 years on probation for the shooting. 16. Death by cockroach. Choking to death might not sound too weird, but how about choking to death on cockroaches? Well, that is exactly what happened to one man taking part in a cockroach eating contest. The disgusting competition was being held at a pet store in Deerfield Beach, Florida. The man suddenly collapsed after some of the crunchy critters began to hook onto and build up in his throat. When the emergency services arrived, he was pronounced dead at the scene. 15. Victorian invention fail. The Victorian era was an age of discovery and innovation. Unfortunately, some creations didn't go as well as some others. Take the world's earliest space jumpers, Franz Reichelt, who built a parachute into his jacket, presumably for those moments when you accidentally step off a cliff or something. The French inventor wanted to exhibit a strange gadget in style, and so invited the press to watch him take a leap off the Eiffel Tower. Sadly, with all eyes watching Franz, he stepped off the railings and plummeted to his death. Because of the media attention the stunt had gathered, newspaper reports, as well as film footage, quickly circulated the media. 14. Death by good manners. They say manners won't cost you anything, but in the case of famed Danish astronomer Tycho Brahe, it cost him his life. Although he was made famous by his gift of understanding the stars, as well as losing his nose in a duel, it was Brahe's unfortunate death that immortalized him for the last 420 years. Brahe had been invited to a huge banquet where he must have drank a little too much. Instead of excusing himself to go to the bathroom, which was regarded as rude back then, he decided to sit in discomfort for the remainder of the evening. Unfortunately, his bladder burst as a result of holding it, which killed him soon after. On his deathbed, The astronomical genius is believed to have said that he lived a sage but died like a fool. Are you enjoying the video so far? Why not hit the subscribe button so you never miss one of the equally interesting future videos? You won't regret it. 13. Man dies after cow falls on him. João Maria de Souza, a man living in Brazil, was lying in bed trying to get some rest when a fully grown cow came crashing through his ceiling, crushing him to death. Because of the way his house was built into the hill, the cow had managed to wander onto his roof, which couldn't take its 1,200-pound weight. Although you may think that this unusual death is a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, this occasion happened to be the third time a cow crashed through a ceiling within the small region. 12. Skydiver forgets important item. The next entry is a poignant lesson about why being prepared is important, especially when performing a dangerous stunt. Ivan McGuire learned this the hard way in 1988 when he leapt out of a plane to perform a skydive, something he had done many times before. He had done everything the way he had done on his previous jumps, only this time, he forgot to put on his parachute. The moment was recorded by Ivan himself, who tragically realized whilst in midair that his death was quickly approaching. 11. Golfing accident. Some people are just bad losers. When a teenage boy called Jeremy T. Breno grew frustrated by his poor play on the golf course back in 1994, a moment of anger quickly turned to tragedy. After missing his last shot, to the amusement of his friends, Jeremy exploded into a fit of rage. He swung his club down onto a bench that caused it to snap in two. Unfortunately for the teen, one half of the spiked club bounced back and stabbed him straight through the heart, killing him instantly. 10. Teen dies from deodorant. To most people, having good hygiene is an important part of life. Well, after hearing about the next entry on our list, you may have conflicting thoughts about smelling as fresh as possible. In 1998, a teenager named Jonathan Capewell, who was obsessed with smelling nice, overused his can of deodorant that resulted in a deadly buildup of the chemicals butane and propane, triggering a huge heart attack. 9. A foolish lawyer who killed himself. Clement Vallandigham, a lawyer working in the late 1800s, took on a case where he had to prove that a man's death was a suicide and not a murder. To clear the murder suspect of shooting the victim, Clement replicated how the incident could have happened. Unfortunately, he took things too far and pulled the trigger on himself. Although Clement inadvertently lost his life, one silver lining was that he proved his client's innocence. 8. Deadly lovemaking. Brent Tyler and Chelsea Tumbleston were having a little too much fun when they began having sex on top of a 50-foot rooftop. Whether it was the lack of spatial awareness while fooling around, or the poor grip they had on the ledge, the pair accidentally fell to their death in the throes of passion. Although a homeless couple later came out as eyewitnesses, it was a taxi driver who came across the pair at 5 a.m. in the morning. 7. Cleaning a cupboard leads to death. A man named Ronald McGlagish met a horrible end after climbing into a cupboard to clean it. As he wiped the shelves, a closet behind him rocked forward and toppled, pinning the cupboard door closed. Desperate, Ronald grabbed hold of a pipe running through the cupboard and pulled it off so he could use it as a weapon to smash his way out. Unfortunately, the pipe he yanked off had ice-cold water running through it. The sudden drop in temperature caused Ronald to develop bronchitis that eventually stopped him breathing within the flooding cupboard. 6. Death by fish cake. A caterer named Darren Hickey decided to try the fish cakes at a wedding he was working at. Unfortunately, he didn't take the time to blow on it first and gulped it down in one. The scalding hot fish cake not only caused Hickey to feel a searing pain in his throat, but also stopped him breathing. According to his post-mortem, the cake had caused similar symptoms to those fire victims suffer when they breathe in too much hot smoke, essentially choking them of oxygen. If this story has made you worry about eating your next hot meal, the chances of a similar case happening again are extremely low. This food death might sound bad, but just wait until you hear our number 1 pick. You won't want to eat soup for a year. 5. Man dies after eating slug 8 years before. An Australian man thought that eating a slug for a dare would be a funny thing to do. Sadly, the laughing stopped when Sam Bellard fell seriously ill. It turned out that the slimy critter had eaten or crawled through rat fecal matter carrying a disease called lungworm. The horrific disease quickly spread to Sam's brain, which caused a serious infection that resulted in paralysis. The lungworm was eventually removed from Sam, but the effects had already damaged his brain in irreparable ways. He lived for a further 8 years until a complication with his condition killed him in 2018. 4. Killer whipped cream can. In what may be the most ironic death on our list, a fitness blogger called Rebecca Berger died whilst making a fresh canister of whipped cream at her home. A French magazine had mentioned the faults of the canister, but it was never taken off the market, despite bones being broken and eyes having to be removed. The main reason for these horrific injuries was because some of the pieces were too flimsy to hold the pressure built up by the compressed gas. When Rebecca tried to use her canister, it exploded and hit her in the chest, stopping her heart. Now it's that part of the video where we check out the subscriber pick image that has been submitted by one of our loyal subscribers. As you can see, this image of two really idiotic people dancing with death was the inspiration for today's video. Although you have heard about someone who managed to get killed by a severed cobra head, the man on the left of this image managed to escape with his life. The officer on the right, who was using a loaded gun as a seat, also walked away without blasting himself in the place where the sun doesn't shine. If you have a weird or interesting picture that you think could inspire our next video, make sure you subscribe and reach out to us with a link. 3. Man crashes car, then drowns. Robert Dreyer thought he had cheated death when he was able to step out of his car following a crash with a fire hydrant. That relief soon disappeared as he stepped straight into a deep sinkhole that was formed by the gallons upon gallons of water spewing from the broken hydrant. Those at the scene couldn't get the man out of the hole, and he sadly drowned. Before we move on, here's a quick challenge for you. If you can leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and turn on the notifications in less than 5 seconds, you will have 10 years of amazing luck. Hurry up and try it. It actually works. 2. Killer goat. A man living in Turkey decided to keep a goat that was intended for sacrifice on the roof of his apartment building. Although he thought the makeshift enclosure would contain the animal, it managed to escape. In a tragic twist of events, the goat leapt from the rooftop and fell on top of the man's 13-year-old son, who had been playing with his friend. 1. Hospital injects soup through IV drip. From the wrong limbs being amputated to sponges being left inside of patients, medical mistakes happen, although they are rare. Well, for 88-year-old Ilda Vitor Macy, it was the mistake of one nurse who fed soup through Ida's IV drip tube instead of her feeding tube that killed her. Many people have no idea how the accident could have happened, as IV fluids in soup have very different looks and consistency. And that concludes our video on the 20 weirdest ways people have died. Out of all the incidents you've heard about, which one do you think was the most bizarre? We would love to know in the comments section below. If this video has sparked your interest in fascinating and interesting topics, why not check out some of our others? You won't be disappointed.